Today on Core Conversations, we have John Jordan. John's famous for his 50-inch vertical that won him the slam dunk competition when he played for Raptors 905. We talked about what it takes to be elite and how those details matter. We also discussed determination and how overcoming setbacks leads us to our greatness. How do we get better? Do we focus on our eights, making them nines, or on our fours, making them fives? Enjoy the conversation. As I was saying, I don't know if you remember this conversation that we had with my son, but it's so true when they say, like, you never underestimate the significance of the insignificant.
Right, right.
He was like, must have been 7 or 8 in this little basketball workshop that you guys are doing. And then
Really.
you were saying to him, work on your handles because even when you get to the NBA, you're always going to be working on your shot.
Yeah,
You're
for
always going to be
sure.
making it. You're always going to be making adjustments with your shot, but working on your handles is something that you could just get early and hold on to and get better with.
Right, right.
And he is just a mad ball handler, man. Like he's really, really kept that, worked on that, and once he established that, then started to move into working on the shot. But just
Yeah, yeah,
being,
yeah.
you
No,
know, this,
I definitely feel like, especially as a guard, I think that's the thing that separates us from everybody else on the court is the fact that, okay, yeah, we can shoot it, but I mean, we can handle the ball. And especially me as a smaller guard, like my ability to handle the ball and create space and create my own shot is so important and it's something that all the pretty much all the elite guards in the NBA possess. That's a attribute that everyone, especially if you're small, you have to have.
right, right, exactly. And even at his level, he's
Hmm.
14 now.
Hmm.
Um, there's something to be said for simply being able to not have to think about that part of your game.
Right, right, right. Like I said, I mean, for me, handles were I was always little, so that
Mhm.
was always my way or my like I said, my way to get away from trouble on the court. And you know what I mean, when I was little, it's something I worked on every day. So now at this point in my career, it's just like it's literally like walking. Like
Yeah,
is that easy. I can't imagine how many basketballs, how many times I didn't dribble in my lifetime. So it's just like I said, it's like almost like walking
yeah,
right now.
of course. Yeah, I mean, you think that principle of 10,000 steps, like literally, how many times have you dribbled a basketball?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. It gotta be over like 10 million
yeah,
times. Gotta
yeah,
be.
yep, yeah. Oh, that's crazy, man. That's good. So, for those who don't know you, who you are, can you just like say
Mhm.
your name and what you do and
Um,
go
uh,
for it.
uh, Pretty much my name is John Jordan. This is I'm headed to my 6th year professional as a basketball player. I started off in the NBA G League. What was the NBA G League at the time, but now it's the
Mhm.
G League. Actually, with the Delaware 87ers. From that point on, I made a mini transition to the Erie Bayhawks, and for like literally like 2 weeks, and after that, I got traded to Raptors 905. Where my first year with 905, I won the NBA G League Slam Dunk contest,
Yep.
and that's pretty much what I'm slightly famous for. Slightly famous for it. And then my second year, we won the NBA G League championship, and
Yes.
from that point, I just never looked back as far as being a pro. Being with the Raptors 905 has taught me a lot. The one
Yep.
thing I tell everybody, please, if you guys get a chance, go visit Toronto and visit Canada. The people are great there, and I had an absolutely amazing time in Toronto, my 1.5 year there. And so, like I said, 2017 we won the regular season. I mean, the regular NBA G League championship. After my G League days, I took my talents overseas to Europe, where I landed first in Finland. I played really well in Finland. Actually, I feel like I was playing my best basketball in my career.
Yes.
And from that point, I got a contract buyout to a bigger club in Belgium halfway through the season. And actually, that following season, I started in Poland, and the beginning of the season, actually in preseason, I tore my meniscus.
Oh
Had
man.
major meniscus tear, major operation, major procedure. Just like that 2018 season is all gone.
Yes.
Rehab the entire season, which led to the beginning of this season. Rehab kind of was a little bit lengthy, so I took the beginning of this season off. But I ended up like around January, I signed with a club in Germany, and I finished the season in Germany, which
Fantastic.
leads which brings us now to the COVID situation.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. How did you handle, like, real talk? How did you handle the knee injury when you felt like your career was just really finding its groove?
Right, right. I mean, obviously, it was tough. It was tough. It was one of the tougher things I've had to deal with in my life. Like I said, and I think we both can agree. Like my game has a lot of athleticism
Yes.
dynamics to it. So
Mhm.
when the wheel goes down, it's just like I'm thinking to myself, like, well, dang, how do I change my game? What does this mean for the future of my career?
Yes.
At the
Yes.
time, I was only 26 years old. And, a major knee injury like that, it gets you thinking a lot. So at
Mhm.
first, honestly, it was hard because, like I said, I mean, it was just like me thinking to myself, like, how am I going to manage, playing? You know what I mean? Later on, I've already torn a meniscus, and how am I changing my game? And yeah, it was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
tough to think about and really tough to deal with. But once I once I actually got the surgery and I started working on my deficiencies, it really became a fun process. The entire rehabilitation process really became fun, and it just gave me an opportunity to see what I was weak at as far as just my body. And I had a
Yes.
lot of fun with rehab, and I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot for sure.
Yeah, I saw you documented that process. And
Right.
isn't it funny how, like, when you have like one injury which is so localized, you
Hmm.
start your rehab, it exposes all the muscle imbalances that probably set up the injury.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I had no idea I had some of these weaknesses, and then without this injury, like who knows what would have happened to me later on. I mean, I could have had a bigger injury somewhere,
Yes.
what I mean, later on. So I always think that things happen for a reason, and that particular injury and that particular time for me was made for me, and it's definitely going to be a part of my story.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that guys get written off, like agents and teams, as soon as they see the knee injury, like, okay, he's not going to be as quick as anymore, he's not going to be as fast anymore, and then he's like, yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's a perspective perception.
no, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think the important thing for us athletes is to realize this is a business. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's basketball, it's fun, it's a hobby for us, but at the same time, it's a business. So
Yeah.
it's no different from any other owner or anybody with authority that has to make a decision on employing somebody. You know what I mean? If you got two
Yes.
people, one has not been in work for the last year and one has,
Hmm.
you're probably going to lean towards the one that's been working. So,
Yes.
I mean, once athletes or people like myself look at it in that perspective, it kind of helps your mind state to where like, okay, well, at least they're what I mean, I don't get the notoriety or the respect from these teams because I can't play. It's just because I'm injured. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
it
Yes.
definitely happens. Once anybody gets injured, it kind of what I mean, people kind of forget about you a little bit.
Hmm.
Teams
Hmm.
kind of go turn the page a little bit, but
Right.
it's just part of the game.
So, who do you think, when you think of guys like in the NBA, who do you think is a good example of coming back from a solid injury?
I mean, the first person that pops up in my mind is probably Sean Livingston. I literally
Mhm.
remember when
Yep.
I don't know the exact diagnosis of his injury, but when he tore his knee up when he was with the LA Clippers earlier in his career, he landed kind of like awkward, funny,
Yes.
and just tore his knee all the way up. And so, him and probably Paul George. Obviously,
Yeah. Oh,
he's
yeah. Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
what I mean, with the I think the foot fracture or whenever that happened in Vegas. So those two for sure stand out more than
Yes.
others.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I see here a couple comments here.
Hmm.
Hugo Autoshine, attack rehab with determination and hard work. Yeah, and
Okay, yeah, I see it. I see it.
yeah, and Harold is a speed conditioning coach here in Canada. He said the mental
Mm,
game from injuries is real. You have to realize that you have a tear in your cape.
for sure, for sure, for sure. No, I definitely agree. I mean, I definitely agree with both of them. Like what my boy Hugo said. I mean, that's actually one of my closest friends, but he was
Cool.
there with me when pretty much every day when I was going through my rehab process. He was a person I was able to lean on a lot and give some of this broken energy too, and he was able
Hmm.
to absorb it for me, and as a true good friend would be able to. So he was there. He knows, I mean, my mindset at the time, how my
Yes.
preparations for rehab were, and how I was attacking it every day. So I mean, what he's
Yeah.
saying is definitely valid and true.
I love that, man. I love seeing like that's your job right now. This is
Right.
your job to get back to 100%.
Exactly.
And then,
Exactly.
and when you discover those muscle deficiencies, you realize that you could actually get past 100% because you weren't even at 100, but when you got injured, right?
Exactly, exactly. And so, like I said, I think that was the most fun part for me when I actually got the surgery, and the day that I start rehabbing, I was like, this is, you know what, this is not bad at all. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is something I'm definitely learning from. I'm learning more about my body. Like we said, the deficiencies that excuse me, that I didn't know I had, and
Mm.
that was the most fun part, honestly. Just learning and learning my body, really.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So one of the guys that I know well, Nick Stauskas, played in the NBA and now he
Hmm.
played in Spain. He was saying that people underestimate, like really sleep on how much talent there is in Europe in ball.
Right, right,
Was that
right.
your like was that your reflection as well? Like it was just a different game?
Yeah, no, most definitely. See, the thing about this game of basketball, and especially in regards to the NBA, there's only so many spots available every year. You know what I mean? There's
Mhm.
what, 32 teams. Each team already starts the season with what, 10 guaranteed contracts. So that literally limits the numbers down. And you
Yes.
think about how many people in this world, play basketball and want to get those spots. There's literally probably 500 million people trying to get 3 or 4 spots per
Yes.
team every year. So, you know what I mean? But I say that to say there's going to be a lot of people that are not in the NBA that probably should be in
Hmm.
the NBA, you know what I mean, based on talent, athleticism, skill, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So all those people do is go overseas, you know what I mean, and make a good
Hmm.
living there. So there's talent everywhere in this world.
Yes.
Obviously,
Yep.
you know what I mean, my first year leaving the G League and going to Europe, you know what I mean, I was definitely like, man, like there's no ballers over here. I was probably like everybody else, man, there's no
Right.
ballers in Europe. I'm about to go tear it up. I mean,
Yeah.
I did play well, but
Yes.
one thing about being overseas, it has definitely gotten a lot of my respect because there are ballers over there,
Yes.
and they come in all shapes, sizes, skin tones, whatever. It
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
ballers over there.
Yep. 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 I used to say, man, like even in work, like there's times where I went to like jobs where we started a new building and like a lifetime and
Right.
everyone like was like the top guys there. And I felt the analogy I used was like when I walked in the building there to work, I was like the guy who carried my high school team, like in university, right? Like you go to
Right.
university and I carried my high school team. I walk into the room and realize that everyone there carried their high school team,
Exactly, exactly. It's I
you
mean it's
know,
no different in pro ball. It's like everybody here was the man, where they
somewhere.
came from. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
So I mean it's just always a situation where the cream always just has to rise to the top, and
Mhm.
so you just got to find a way to stand out on the court. You know what I mean, more than others. I
Yeah.
mean it's really what it comes down to.
Yep. 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 We talk about standing out, and you know when you're playing in Finland and all those different places, you really stand out as an elite player, right? As a
Hmm.
guard and just having your hops and stuff like that.
Hmm.
What would you say to young guys coming up? What does it take to be elite to get to that level?
I
Such a
mean,
general question, but
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great question because I mean, obviously, that's like the $1 million question everybody wants to know. Like, how do you become good?
mhm,
How do you do this? I mean, obviously, you got the basics. Okay, it sounds so cliche. Hard work, determination.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Time, effort. But for me, I think the thing that is most overlooked as far as, when you become elite at just anything, whether it's basketball, football, painting, whatever it is, you want to become elite at. I think it's the attention to detail
Yes.
that is overlooked a lot. And it's just for instance, in my case, like, okay, so the attention to detail, what it looks like for me is, figuring out the deficiencies in my body early in my career and often in my career. So I don't get an injury, and the injury process sets me back. At some
Yes.
point, think of guys like, okay, like LeBron James. LeBron has never had a major injury in his life. And why is that? Because he takes so good care of his body. And
Yes.
he's so focused on those little details of his game. Not only he works out, I'm sure, pretty hard skills, weights, but it's like the little details that like people don't. That's often overlooked.
Right. Right.
There's
Right. Right.
the cryotherapy, the yoga, the
Hmm.
Pilates. All those little things. I think you have to pay attention to if you want to be elite. Everybody gets up and works hard, and there's a million guys that's in the gym right now shooting 1,000 shots. You
Yes.
can
Yes.
is doing a lot of ball handling, whatever the case may be. So the thing that is going to set you apart from everybody else is those little details. What else can you do? What else can you bring? Your liability, or will you be a
Yes.
liability at some
Right.
point due to health reasons or whatever else? You just got to literally focus on those details, and that could mean anything for anybody.
Right. No, that's exactly. I love just to talk about details and just like
Mhm.
fine tune that and knowing what those details are like
Right.
within your own self, right? So
Exactly.
if you have two skill sets, right? And one of
Hmm.
your skills is an 8 out of 10,
Hmm.
and your other skill is a 4 out of 10.
Hmm.
Do you spend more time getting your 8 to a 9 or your 4 to a 5?
That's a great question. I think for myself, I kind of struggled with that earlier in my career. Like, okay, so it was like another way to answer it. Do I spend the summertime working on my strengths, like perfecting my strengths, or do I spend the summertime working on my weaknesses? Such a tricky question, and I honestly feel like there's no right answer, but I will tell anybody what I do. I literally, the beginning of the summer, I spend like the bulk of the time working on my weaknesses. And then later on in the summer, closer to when the season is going to start, that's when I hone on my strengths. I try to bring my weaknesses up to speed, and then I try to incorporate that with my strengths. As the season is about to start, and as I'm starting to get sharper and more in tune with getting in shape, and whatever
Yes.
the case may be is. So I try to split it up, like I said, but it's hard because I would imagine there's athletes and players that are like, you know what, just work on your strengths all day. Don't worry about your weaknesses. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
And there's probably people and athletes that are like, you know what, like I got my strengths. It's like a walk in the park. I need to bring something else, and I'm gonna just spend time,
Yes.
on that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you just literally have to find the right balance in order to do both
Yes.
and get
Yes.
better from it.
Those of you in the audience are, feel free to chime in on that. What do you think is more important, working on getting your 8s and 9s or your fours to
Right.
fives, working on your
Right.
strengths, weaknesses? Because like I don't know, like for myself, I agree with your balance piece, but
Hmm.
I think that when it comes down to it for myself, I like creating separation.
Right.
So I
Right.
would work on my strengths and make my
Hmm.
8 a 10 so that the gap is bigger and that gives space for my weaknesses. So
No,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
And so like it's not that I neglect my weaknesses, but yeah, I'd rather just create as much space as possible between me and the next person.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I don't feel like it's no wrong answer or no right answer. I think everybody's game is different. Everybody is built differently,
Yeah.
and everybody can withstand different things at different times. So,
Yes.
it is possible that people, cater to their strengths more, and they're
Yeah.
just going to rely on their strengths to lead the way. And I definitely agree with it 100% that if somebody
Yeah.
wanted to do it that way, just go ahead for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So 1080 speed. So what if your strengths aren't strong and compared to elites?
What if your strengths aren't strong compared to? It's not showing up in my on my thing.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, it says so what if your strengths aren't
Hmm.
strong in comparison to elites? Then I'd say like, I see what you're saying, like, like if you want to focus on your strength, but if your strengths really aren't enough to set you apart, off-season
Right.
weaknesses, in-season play to your strengths. Okay, that's what you're saying too. I don't know, like when you understand what your strengths are, what your like if I was talking to a trainer, I'd ask him what is his niche,
Right.
right?
Right.
And instead of saying I'm going to focus on weight loss and competition and mobility and
Hmm.
strength training, hypertrophy and
Hmm.
whatever, so like, well, find one that you're most passionate about and just be the man there, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it becomes a comparison of comparing yourself to elites as much as just being good at the thing that you're super good at and just carving yourself a little niche there. Like,
Right.
like yourself, like what you've done, like you recognize what your strengths are, what you need for your game, and then you create a space with that, right?
Yeah, no, no doubt. I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like you said, you just gotta find out you gotta tap in with yourself and literally find out what you're good at, and then from that point,
Yes.
I mean, just let it lead the way. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's definitely how I feel about that, and I'm sure like a lot of successful athletes or people in general, like take that same approach.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So unpacking like you said, like you work on some of the things your areas you need to grow in, and then later in the summer, you work on some of your strengths.
Yeah,
What
for
kind of
sure.
what kind of things would you focus on in the first half of your off season training for yourself personally?
Um, just a lot of mechanical things, obviously like the thing about basketball, which I'm pretty sure is the same with a lot of sports. Throughout the season, you actually lose a little bit of skill just because you don't have time to work on that individual skill a lot of times during the season. The season is so team oriented and team driven. You know what I mean? You lose a little bit of that personal time to work on your game.
Hmm.
So, and with that, sometimes your mechanics get thrown off just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Little things here and there change. So definitely earlier in the summer, I'll work a lot on my mechanics from just bodily movements,
Hmm.
stability work, and this is just on the training and just stability work, balance work, like core work, just literally getting all my pieces and putting them back in line. And it's obviously as far as basketball, literally just like little things like shot form, real basic ball handling, things just to get me back in line. And then like I said, like as the summer progresses, as I get in a little bit better shape, I get in a little bit better rhythm, and that's when I kind of start transitioning into, okay, now let's hone in on my strengths, and let's really sharpen the iron as far as the things that really make me special. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So right around the time when the season starts, I am sharp as a nail and I am ready to go.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So break for a minute.
Mhm.
What are some of your strengths? What are some of those things that are just like your sharp skills?
Obviously, I mean my biggest strength is my athleticism. Obviously, and athleticism really doesn't all the time mean ability to jump. It's
Yep.
lateral quickness.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Transition from slow to fast. Just overall general athleticism is definitely probably my number one strength. And then I'll probably say right after that is my ability, and it's just basketball,
Yeah.
strictly basketball, my ability to play make and score and play make. So I
Hmm.
consider myself a playmaking scorer, playmaking scoring guard. You know what I mean? I
Yes.
can play make first,
Yes.
but I'm an opportunistic scorer. I will score the ball if need be.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think those are my strengths for sure.
Hmm. I like your NBA 2K talk there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's the language, right? Like, I mean, like
For sure.
one of these moms where her son's watching. That's the same thing. Like they talk about that playmaking, shoot first, whatever it is, right?
For
Like,
sure. For sure. No, it's definitely 2K. That's funny.
yeah. No, that's good, man. That's awesome. And like
Hmm.
and guys see that, right? So now for the young shooters out there, young ballers out there, they're
Hmm.
thinking about all these different things. I love what you're saying about details, just
For
focusing on those
sure.
details. what details first? Like what are the fundamentals? What do you need to work on, like piece by piece, building yourself up over this quarantine time while you're by yourself?
So, okay, so that's a great question. The thing I do a lot is I go back. I've been doing literally the basics, and what I mean by that is what I've learned in my rehab time. You know what I mean? Glute activation with the little bands. I do the band workout. You know what I mean?
The
Everybody
boring
is like,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, not the boring stuff. And I literally do that every time here in the crib. So, like I said, like real basic stuff, band workouts, the glute activation, any type of hip mobility, glute bridges, um, push ups, like real basic body weight exercises. I think those are just the foundation of a strong body. I mean,
Yes.
you can't do, you know what I mean, like I wouldn't recommend anybody doing like pretty explosive things, like skipping that part, you know what I mean, to start back being active again. I mean, because like I said, like what happened to me, I set myself back because I skipped over the basics and I skipped over the basic fundamentals of bodily function and bodily movement. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
around this time, I'm definitely doing like I said, like very basic stuff just to make sure my mechanics are good.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly it. And that's implies, I always say that you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Exactly.
So I have guys that, they'll squat, they'll do all these different things, and then we get back to Pilates and realize that there's just one muscle that's not firing properly. We peel everything back, get to
Right.
those things, and they're like, just dying on a leg circle or dying on some kind of exercise. And then they go back to the weights and they're so much stronger because their body's not giving out at that one spot every single time anymore.
Right, right, right,
Yeah,
right. No, I definitely agree. I mean, like I said, I can't. I mean, I can't really say it enough. It's really the attention to details with just everything. As far as being an athlete, and I mean, really, just pretty much in life. You literally gotta have the fundamentals and your foundation strong. And so, I mean, for me, it's just you don't want to have any setbacks, and you don't want to caution like have any injuries or
yeah,
for something that could have been easily prevented and easily done. You know what I mean? Like these are stuff. This is stuff I'm doing at home. Like you know what I mean? I
yes,
really haven't even hit the weight room yet. So you know what I mean? But like we said, like the all the elites are doing this. And when the time like this happens, like are you gonna stop working out? Are you gonna stop? Are you just gonna lay in the bed all day? Are you? It's like
yes,
times like this separate people, you know what I mean? Because I
yes,
feel like literally all the elites are still doing something and
exactly,
they know that they have a certain responsibility um still over them.
exactly. Can you talk about your path to even to the G League, D League, like in terms of what AAU teams you play on, high school, just for like the young guys who are listening, and just hearing like different career paths to actually get to the pro level. I'd just be curious to hear like what your path would look like.
No, for sure. Okay, so I'm from Houston originally. I went to Fort Bend Hightower High School. Well, even before that, basketball is something I knew I wanted to do from day one. You know, what I mean, I pretty much really didn't have my mind set on anything else. And just like anybody else, I was just a kid with a ball and a dream. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
get to the top. I want to hit the game winning shot to win the championship. I like
Hmm.
literally just like everybody else, and like I said, it's something I knew I wanted to do for the majority of my life, and it's a passion of mine. But I've been playing basketball since I was like 3 or 4 years old. Did the whole biddy ball process, played all the way up until high school, which I attended Fort Bend Hightower High School. Is a pretty good school for like athletics. I was probably I wasn't super heavily recruited, but I was definitely recruited by a bunch of D1 schools. And my final three offers were Texas A&M Corpus Christi, as you guys see right there.
Yes,
Uh,
represent.
go Durs. A&M Corpus Christi, Texas Tech, and Colorado State. I chose Texas A&M Corpus Christi because I had a great relationship with our head coach at the time, Willis Wilson. And then people ask me all the time, why Corpus over Texas Tech or Colorado State. And this is, I think, important for people to realize. It's if for me in my situation at the time, I wanted to play right away. Like I didn't care about
Hmm.
the size of the school. You know what I mean? Who's coaching where? I wanted to go somewhere that knew I was going to have an impact right away. And
Yes.
A&M Corpus gave me that offer, and Coach Wilson was like, you know what, you can come in, you work hard, possibly start as a freshman, and the program is yours, and you can run with it. And so that's what I did. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I always had the
interesting.
mindset. I always wanted to be the big
Make an
fish.
impact.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Like if I would have went to Texas Tech, Colorado State, who knows? There were players there, guards there that, you know what I mean, were only sophomores and freshmen. So I looked at all that. I looked at the depth chart, I looked at rosters, and you know what I mean, I felt comfortable going to Corpus just because I knew I was going to play right away. If I went to any other route, I probably wouldn't have played until my junior year. But
Right.
and I think it's
Right.
important for young athletes to know, especially nowadays where everything's so digital. We have a lot of technology. It literally doesn't matter what school you go to. Literally, you know what I
Mm.
mean? If you're good enough, they will find you. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that's where all the technology comes in. They're like literally they have every single thing you've done, every game, every possession to the T on film.
Hmm.
So, like I said, if you're good enough, they're gonna find you. You don't always have to go to the biggest school, the brightest school. I encourage people to go to where they can make a direct and immediate impact, and that's
That's
what I
wise,
did.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Now,
no,
sorry, I'm really interested by that point because
mhm.
we do want to say we went to this big school. I went to
Right.
Michigan. I went to Duke. All those different
Mhm.
things. Um, or I want to learn from this coach in particular. But it seems like what you're saying, like be able to have that impact would actually make you a better player from having more in-game situations than sitting on the bench for a year and a half till you get your chance.
Exactly, exactly. Now, like some for somebody like me, I joined when I joined the under their program. Literally from day one, I was a focal point of the entire building of the program, and it's something I challenged myself and I prided myself on, and I really wanted to do. And like you said, it's just I've played literally. I've started every game my college career. I've been
Wow.
in any situation on the court. I know how to get out of any situation. I know how to handle every situation, and that's all because, you know what I mean, I started as a freshman from day one. You know what I mean,
Hmm.
and I know how to handle situation. There's so many players that go overlooked because they went to a big school and they had to play under, big high caliber players, big name players. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And those guys probably never got a chance to show their skill, and they're probably beating themselves up about it. Now,
Right, 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 right. Yeah, but they could say that they have the jersey.
that is true.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
true. Well, I'm not saying don't go to if you get a Michigan offer, Duke, whatever the case may be. For
Yeah.
sure, look at it. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
But
If you
you asked some hard questions though, man. Like, what does a depth chart look like? Like, what does that mean
yeah,
for my impact? Like, those are some good questions that people don't ask because they get starstruck by a jersey, right?
exactly, exactly. I mean, I totally understand you like us kids because like all this process, choosing schools, NCAA tournament, whatever the case may be, is part of the dream, the beginning dream. So I definitely understand. You know what I mean? You want to go to the biggest school, the best school with the brightest lights, the most fans, but you got to ask yourself, like, is that route really going to get me um, better personally, and is it really going to get me to where I want to go? You know what I mean, down the
Yes.
road, and it may be that route, and there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that. But I felt from my personal story that going to a smaller school so I can play right away. I thought that was definitely my best bet, and it turned out to be so.
So for those of you listening out there, basically what you came down to is it going to make me better personally, and is it going
Hmm.
to help me on my path?
Right. Correct. 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 Those two questions um, were the questions that I definitely wanted answers from, and I basically made my decision by. And
Mm.
also another thing, coaching definitely. Like you want to go to a coach that actually invests in you. You know what I mean? It has a lot
Yes.
invested in you. Like it'd be one thing if a high major coach was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna offer you a scholarship. We like you. You might not play until whenever. but it's another thing when a coach comes to your home,
Hmm.
sits down to you, you know what I mean, brings your family in and
Yes,
look all
yes,
y'all in the eye and tell y'all like, yo, like if your kid, if you come to my school, you know what I mean, you will have the keys to the program. That, I think for me, that hits different. You know what I mean? When
yes, yes,
that just lets me know that, okay, the coach is really invested in me, and yeah, he's gonna let me, you know, me do my thing within respect of the program.
yes, yeah. And then what does that mean for even high school, like junior, like everything's moving down in terms of it, like people recruit for high schools now too, right? So you
Right.
have junior high guys going in. Do you recommend that they chase after prep schools, that they make an impact on their local school, that they find an area prep school? Like, what do you think is the best path for young guys coming up?
Well, I think first off, everybody's path is gonna be just a tad different. So,
Hmm.
but I will say I went to a public school, and at that time, obviously, this is 2010, 2011. Public schools was a thing, but now I see the prep school thing is becoming more and more popular. So
Hmm.
I would definitely say, now at this time, you got to kind of like move along with the current. You know what I mean? So if
Yes.
the prep school thing is the wave and the way to go, I mean, I say why not try it? I
Yeah.
believe it gives you a little bit more time to work on your game and work on your craft at an earlier age. You know,
Yes.
and so if that's something that some individual will look at and be like, okay, yeah, that's the route I need to go. I definitely say do it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Nice. We're also talking about what you got going on next, man. Do you want to talk about your some of your plans and things that are coming up with your training?
Yeah, no, so basically, I mean, like I said before, I'm just at home, and with the whole COVID situation is actually kind of funny for someone like me, and that's kind of like at the almost at the midway point of my career. I'm 27 now, and so the thing that the COVID has taught me is, you know, yeah, I'm playing basketball professionally. Yeah, I'm doing good, you know, man, my craft, but what else can I add to my life when the ball stops bouncing for whatever reason?
Yes.
And so that's a thing that definitely arose to me when the COVID situation started happening. So I definitely been at home brainstorming, trying to find other crafts and other things that I'm interested in, and I actually have I'm actually let you guys know I actually have a vertical jump program that I'm working
Okay.
on and crafting right now, that will be available maybe towards the end of the summer, but it's something that I think that will be good for not only myself but for a lot of kids and a lot of people across the world. Everybody wants to know the same question for me, like, how do you get
Yes.
hops, how do
How do
you
you jump so
jump?
high, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
What's your vert, man? I didn't even I should have like right out of the gate asked you like what was at your best? What was your like straight up vert? Standing and
Standing, I believe, was a 43, and one step, two step was a 50.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because how tall
Yes.
are you? Like what's your height again?
5'10".
Okay. Yeah. That's
Five
like
ten flat.
yeah. That
Yeah,
is
so like I said, I'm excited about this vertical jump program that I'm crafting, just because I want to be able to help people and I want to be able to make an impact on
yes.
people. And you know what I mean, I at first, honestly, I didn't know there was a high demand for one to jump high, but there's a huge high
Hmm.
demand for people in just overall general athleticism. I think people, when they feel that they're more athletic, they just feel better and more confident about themselves. So that's something I'm
Yes.
definitely down to help with.
Absolutely. Yeah, and speed kills, right? Like, I mean,
For
that
sure.
any sport speed kills, and that's part of getting up is being able to generate power, generate speed. So you're on the right path for that. And I'm sure your rehab knowledge now becomes
Yeah,
prehab for the next person, right?
for
So
sure.
yeah, man, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think that, as especially in basketball, just
Mm-hmm.
being around the culture enough, I
Mm-hmm.
know that you have to live for today and you have to live for your contract and you have to like treat it like a job and all that stuff. So that doesn't give you very much space to think about what's next. I recognize
Exactly.
that. I,
No,
I really, yeah, so go ahead.
no, exactly. I mean, like during, especially like throughout the course of the season, like you said, we always in a situation where we're literally living in a moment, and I mean, we going from practice to practice, game to game, and we're just trying to play our best in that season. And you don't really have enough time to go home and brainstorm and come up with other ideas. You're tired, you're fatigued, you want to ice, you want to eat, you want to shower,
Yes.
and just unwind. And
Yes.
so, and that's why it's important for us especially athletes, when a time like now, the COVID situation where we all at home, now is the time to find other things that we're interested in, because the ball
Hmm.
will start bouncing one day, and we have to be prepared for it as athletes. So that's why this time is so important right now, to start
Yes.
constructing and working towards and finding the things that we want to do after athletics.
Right. Don't you feel like you're almost cheating on basketball when you think about something outside of basketball, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better. I
Man,
definitely feel a little guilty. I'm like,
I
like
was
how
afraid to ask, man, because I know that like that's how you guys think. But
nah, for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. I'm like, how dare I?
yes. Yeah, yeah. That's good, man. No, that's awesome, man. Man, thanks for joining us today on Core Conversations. As we went through our conversation, if there's some points that you wanted to discuss more, jump over to our group page on Facebook, and also check out personalvictory.ca/core conversation to see who's coming up next. See you again on Core Conversations.